Jason.
Hello, mate. How are you? I'm good. Hello, mate. How are you?
Well,
I'm just messing about with the lettuce.
what's going on here?
Just doing a little lettuce playing, really.
Sorry to interrupt. You haven't seen Steve anywhere, have you?
I haven't seen him for a while. So I think he's got his head in the book or something.
Oh, he's always reading these books, see.
I know.
Enough about the books.
Oh, hello.
Hello, Jason.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Well, I'm okay.
Where have you been?
Well, I've got a bone to pick with the both of yous.
What?
Your AutoPot valve. You used it to get here quickly, and I've had to drive as fast as I can to get here. Now, I've had it really tightly, didn't take me anywhere. I've had it really loosely, and I just ended up in random places. And I just thought, you know what, just finger tight, just make it nice, as you taught me. No, still didn't work.
You know what your problem was though, don't you? You're a scientist and not a grower.
We're not still doing this science versus
Well,
science and
well,
grower
you
versus
know.
grower, are we? Can you make it work for me?
No, not really, because you're not a grower.
I think you're going to have to spend some time here and
Practice.
do some growing.
Well, let's
Yeah.
practice then. Let's get on with the episode. And AutoPot. These are going to teach you to grow.
Certainly are.
Welcome back at the AutoPot R&D facility with Jason and
Hello.
myself.
And the scientist.
Yeah,
Can we cut out this theme? Can't we all just get along, scientists and growers?
we'll see how that pans out, eh,
We will,
Jason?
yeah.
You've had your fun with the aqua valve. Now let's just get along.
We see how your education lesson goes on over this next day also.
I'm looking forward to it. We've got some great plants on display, some phenomenal systems, some that you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Really excited to show you what Jason's got in store. And we thought, what better place to come and show the gravity-fed, the best gravity-fed system that money can buy, and come straight to AutoPot headquarters.
And let's see what we can learn.
Yeah. So we're going to go up and down the aisles, and Jason's going to show us what's been going on at the facility. So, we're in front of the propagation trolley.
We are.
We've got 4 levels with the 45 litre tank at the top, feeding all the aqua valves and the trays. It's looking good, isn't it?
It is.
But I'm not going to take all the credit for it. You did a little bit of the setup, didn't you?
I did it all.
Oh, so wasn't you who done this?
I'm just talking about it.
He saw it in a book.
As if.
It was a good book. We're here now for practical though. So, gravity fed, that's the basis of all AutoPot systems, is that it's gravity fed, no electricity needed. The first level, we're doing, I say we, I'm going to use we.
Okay.
We're here. We're doing some trials, LEDs, the first set above the lettuce. What have we got going on with this valve and how's all this working, Jason?
So in essence, how it works, as you said, it's all gravity fed. So they've got the tank at the top. I put the water in, pH stabilised, and fertiliser, just low-level fertiliser because they're not heavy-consuming plants.
Yeah.
And then in essence, what happens, the water pushes the gravity pressure pushes the water down in each level, and the aqua valve basically controls the flow of the water. So it floods to 20 mil, and what you've got the plant sitting on is a cocoa pad that needs to be pre-soaked first overnight at 4.5. Once it's pre-soaked, then it's all set and ready to use for the following day. Got a root control sheet on the top. I put the pH in here about 5, 6 in the reservoir, and then the water simply just fills each tray, and then the capillary action of the cocoa pad pulls it up to the surface, creates a damp surface for the plant to then simply take the water as and when it needs it. So as each valve empties, it allows within about 30 minutes to refill, and then the plants will take it, consume it all, and then it will replenish again. So it's just a one-way system, no recirculation, and perfect because the humidity rises from the surface of this damp cloth, the root control sheet, and sort of filters up through the plants, and keeps them all night, the microenvironment all nice and humid.
So this matting is similar to copper matting?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's just sheets of copper. It's copper coated one side, and it just simply stops the roots from penetrating into the cocoa. So when you want to take the plants off, then you're not tearing the roots
Stephen's
away.
never really seen much of this stuff actually out in the field.
You only see pictures.
He struggles with some of them at times, don't you?
It's the words I like.
Yeah. You know what is nice though is the lights. I like the lights. Very simple to use as well.
They are. I mean, I've been playing around with these ones for about a year now, and they're quite cheap and cheerful, but they seem quite effective. The plant growth is pretty good across the board.
Seem to be doing very well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it's all looking good.
You've got the Razor LED underneath here as well, which is the purpley light. That's tunable as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can alter the red spectrum or you can alter the blue spectrum. Predominantly, this was designed for aquatics. But from what I've seen, growth, if I'm playing around with spectrums, because I can reduce the intensity down when I've got small plants and then gradually increase the intensity of the red and the blue spectrums, it works really well. But it is predominantly designed for fish.
They're a nightmare to put together.
It is a bit of a pain with regards to these hanging units. Yeah, it could have been slightly better thought of.
Definitely.
How long have you had these cocoa mats in use for, and how long can they last?
About a year. You've got a good 12 months out of it, and these are continually used. So we'll bring herbs on, we'll bring plants on, we'll swap plants over in the grow room. So I get a good 12 months out of each cocoa pad.
Yeah,
Looks so.
If you're looking for ease of use, low maintenance, multi-level growing, this is probably the best system that I've seen. Gravity fed, no electricity, multi-level, brilliant. We're going to move over to the next trolley and see what's been going on over there.
So, show us a little bit more what's going on here then, please, Jason.
Right, so the idea is I'm trying to design something like this trolley, but make it look sexy.
Yeah, okay.
And the idea is to place it into supermarkets and to place it into high-class restaurants. So the supermarkets can keep their plants alive.
Yeah.
And secondly, the restaurants, they can grow their own microherbs and put them in their dishes when they go out to the customers. So what I had initially been doing is trying to use the cocoa pads that we just talked about previously on the other trolley.
Yeah.
But the problem is I can't use cocoa pads for health and safety reasons because potential bacteria growing them in kitchens. So what I've decided to do is start using grated plates, raised platforms. So I don't know if I could show you here. So if I lift this up, you'll see, if I show that to the camera underneath, you'll see roots hanging in suspension there. And all this is, on top of that, is paper sat on top. It's called confetti, sheets of confetti. And I just sprinkle the seeds on top. It's totally biodegradable, so you can throw it away and it'll compost. And I've found that this seems to be the best way for fast germination, easy germination, and speed of crop. So what I've done, instead of using the big trays, I've just taken smaller trays just to get the principle right. But at the same time, what I'm doing is identical crops on all levels, but trying different lights from different manufacturers to see what the effect on growth is.
What on earth is this, though?
Well,
it looks like it's something to do with this propagation.
It is. So this is one of many grated trays that I've come across. I think these are actually being used in London Underground, the growing underground. So what they're doing is using matting on top, but they're flooding and draining. We're using flood and drain benches. What I've just showed you with these herbs, these small microherbs, is just a smaller grated tray, similar to this, but obviously I can fit these in there. And I just want to do small trials instead of trying to fill large areas and find out that what I've tried to do didn't actually work. Yeah. But now I'm finding out after 2 or 3 months of trial and error that this is the most effective way to actually make AutoPot work with microherbs.
They seem to be coming along pretty effectively, don't they?
Well, these were sown on Friday.
Yeah.
So what are we now? We're what are we, Tuesday? Tuesday, so yeah, it's 4 or 5 days. These will be ready by the end of the week, the mustard.
Probably ready to harvest.
Is that another invitation to dinner?
That is another invitation to dinner. Yes.
Well, I wouldn't turn that down.
Cress and basil.
Cress and basil. They're the name of my dogs as well.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. But they will be when they get 2 dogs. That they're brilliant, and I think what we'll get is some photos of Jason, so when the episode goes out, we can actually cut to some photos of fully grown lettuce. Yeah. Because these are going to really green up over the next few days.
Yeah, you'll notice the greenness. By this time tomorrow, that won't be lime green anymore. It'll just be fully dark green.
Yeah. There's some lovely citrus plants behind us, so I'd love Jason to explain what's going on in them. So let's move on, see the citrus.
Yeah. So these remind me of the plants that I used to have in our polytunnel. These look like some lovely citrus plants.
That's exactly what they are, Thomas. They're from Japan, and they're called a yuzu plant, and they're traditionally grown for the actual peel of the lemon, not the actual lemon. So they basically take the lemon off, put it into dishes, and then they just eat it with whatever they eat it with. It's spiny, It's tricky to grow, especially if you don't have the right pH. And what happens is when I got these plants from the Wasabi company in Dorchester, I brought them in, put them straight into cocoa, put a citrus feed in from Growth Technology, and forgot to do the pH.
Yeah.
For about a month, I was wondering why my plant was sad. And then I suddenly realised.
You've seen some sad telltale signs.
So you're telling me, as soon as you saw a deficiency,
Yeah.
you didn't just run to the shop and
No.
ask for bottles of CalMag,
No,
some other bottles of Magic that can sort out the deficiency.
No.
You just adjusted the
adjusted
pH.
the pH.
That's how important it is.
Yeah.
Adjusted the pH.
And you can see the new growth is perfection.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah,
You can
Absolute
come out here.
perfection.
looks fabulous.
You can see the distorted growth.
Yeah.
When the pH was in the wrong range, it was about 7.2. Because this is cocoa, you should have a lower pH of around 5.5, 5.6. And obviously, because it's a citrus tree, it likes it a little bit more acidic. And obviously, that's fixed the problem by correcting the pH in the reservoir.
Excellent. So, rule number one, lesson number one, is don't just run to the shop to get the bottle of Magic that's going to sort all deficiencies. More often than not, it comes down to incorrect pH. So make sure your pHs are in the correct bands, and if that's sorted, then you can start having a look at deficiencies within the soil or the cocoa. Brilliant lesson, brilliant plant to demonstrate that as well.
What system's this that you've got these in?
This is a new one that we've well, it was designed hand in hand with the Auto 9, which we'll probably show you in a little while, and it's literally an Auto 3 XL. Because the racking systems in the US where we were installing these systems into couldn't quite fit an Auto 9 properly in that level, we had to design a 3 just to fill off the gap at the end.
Yeah.
So literally it's a 25 litre pot that people are used to,
Yeah.
with a tray that can house three of them,
Yeah.
with one aqua valve controlling all three.
Cool. Seems to be doing pretty well.
Yeah, no, it's fine,
When the pH is sorted.
when the pH is right.
Yeah.
We're going to move around and have a good look at now at the rest of the plants. That's the propagation sorted, and again we wanted to make the point of how important pH is, so let's crack on with the rest of the lab and
Let's
see
do
what
it.
we've got. So we've got the basic 4-pot AutoPot system with the 15-litre pots. And what is it that we're growing in here?
What this is a little trial or a little sort of exhibit of a Q melon, and a Q melon's from a gentleman called James Wong. Well, he promotes the seeds, and literally it's a little tiny watermelon,
Yeah.
but it tastes a cucumber.
Yeah.
So they're probably about the size of your fingernail, and they just kick them out left, right, and centre. You can see some flowers in the background there starting to set. But I've only just plotted these plants up probably 3 days ago, so looking a little bit sad. They're sort of finding their way now. But within 2 or 3 weeks, you'll find that the vines will be all the way up to here, little tiny yellow flowers producing a tiny little look-alike watermelon that tastes a cucumber. And you just add them to the salads. It's really quite nice.
Excellent. And this is all being fed off, is it that tank that's being fed off?
Yeah,
in
it's
the
been,
background there?
all the plants around me now are all being fed from a 225 litre blue flexi tank. All the soils that I'm using are canna, and the fertiliser that I'm using in the reservoir is canna as well.
Okay. They're all looking really nice now.
Yep.
So how long before this is at the top and we're producing fruits?
I'd probably say within 6 weeks it'll be at the top. Within a week it'll be producing fruits.
Yeah, every days. This looks really interesting.
Mm.
I've never seen a plant wear a skirt in my life. What's going on in there?
Well, it's a new design, Steve, and we've got a market for big commercial glass houses in the States, and a lot of Americans are very fond of using smart pots,
Yeah.
or fabric pots. Obviously there's a way that you can irrigate them, and the options are either drippers or hand watering. So what I've decided to try and design is a irrigation system that uses the aqua valve. So in the far corner there's an aqua valve cover that's connected to the blue tank again behind, and then there's a smart pot. And if I lift this up there, and this is obviously to keep it nice and dark so I don't get algae. So if I didn't have this here, the roots would stay in there, but because I have it there and I want to be able to keep the algae out, I've designed this skirt. So the skirt goes halfway up the smart pot and then hooks around up to a square metre tray, and then literally you've got the light reflecting off it. And then what I've got actually growing in the pot is a Carolina Reaper, which is one of the hottest chili plants in the world, and then 6 different tomato plants around the edge of the smart pot. These are going to grow up and then run across the beams above our heads. But what they'll also do, once the fruit is set and I take the leaves off and I'm just left with the stem, that'll act as a natural cage to help support the Carolina Reaper, to stop it from falling over. But what I'm really trying to sort of get from this plant skirt is how to stop the roots getting into the aquavalve that's irrigating the tray in the other corner. And what I've done, I've basically taken the aquavalve and the aquavalve cover, and I've sat that in a root control sock.
Yeah.
But I've sat inside the root control sock, I put a piece of stainless steel, and I've sat the aquavalve and the aquavalve cover on that stainless steel, and then you've got this protective wall of copper that will stop the roots from getting in there. So I'm just having to play with it at the moment, but the idea is for the big commercial growers in glass houses in the States and Canada to have an option to be able to use the smart pots in trays with our technology.
That's brilliant. And it looks really healthy and fabulous.
Yeah, no.
We'll get some shots in there, show you the roots coming out of the cloth pot as well.
Yeah.
Thomas loves his carrots, and he's gone straight over to the truck, so I think he's going to need your help with the veg truck over there.
I'll give him a hand. Hello, Thomas.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking for some carrots.
All right.
I'm
well,
looking at what's
you'll have to
going on
wait
here.
a couple of months yet, son.
Okay. So what
Do you want
have we
me to
got
tell
on?
you? Right, it's an aquabox spider. Not massive in the hydro industry.
Yeah.
But it's getting bigger in the allotment
Yeah.
sort of industry. So this is a veg truck from
Okay.
some guys, Paul and Joe. They own the company, and they send me products to have a little play with. And all it is really is an aquavalve in a clam-shaped shell. So that's connected to the reservoir behind you, Thomas.
Yeah.
And the gravity pressure pushes the water into this well, and then you've got 12 little capillary strips all the way around, and
Yeah.
they actually go underneath the soil.
So
in all
you thread
different-
these through the stuff.
Exactly.
Like a spider.
Like a spider.
Okay.
And then what happens, the water floods the tray,
Yeah.
the water gets consumed, gets sucked up by the strips, distributed under the soil, so like drippers, if you had a dripper, you'd lose most of the water on the surface because it's hot.
Yeah.
But because this is distributing water underneath, you're not getting an immense amount of evaporation,
Wow.
and you're making sure that the plant gets the moisture that it needs, because the roots are obviously below. So I've just started off with utilising 6 strips, because the plants are only small, and then once the plants start getting bigger and bigger, I'll bring the other strips down, and then I'll feed 12 strips.
Right,
And they'll
okay.
distribute the water in 12 different places around the bed. Makes really, really effective irrigation. And you know, people say, oh, you know, it might take up a bit of space, but in the big scheme of things, if you have to keep watering areas, square metres and square metres.
So if you've got an allotment and you've got a large bed,
Yep.
perfect.
Absolutely perfect. We'll irrigate up to about 1.2 square metres, so pretty much most standard raised beds.
There was one other thing I forgot to keep mentioning, is I've noticed there's like these little spirit bubbles.
Yeah, on things.
On things. What's that all about?
Really, that's just a little, not a bit of smoke and mirrors, but what it is, it's just to allow the customer, when they use the aquavalve cover over the top of the aquavalve, when they use the aquabox, is that they know that they've got it level. They know that either the aquavalve and the aquavalve cover sitting in a tray is level, because the spirit level tells you,
Yeah.
and the same on the aquabox spider. So it's very simple, just to level it off by pressing it in the corner, and then you know that you've got equal distribution of water actually entering that box and spreading out as it goes into the bed.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
So Jason, I'm a bit confused. What have we got on here? We've got the AutoPot 9, the Easy to Grow, and the Auto 8. And what's that?
That's the new Flexi Tank, Thomas. Flexi Tank Pro.
Flexi Tank Pro.
It looks good, but it doesn't look like you've designed it.
No.
You designed this.
There was a gentleman that works for us called Dan Gulliver, had a little bit of an input.
Also, there's some imperfections in it.
Yeah.
I knew you it's really good, but no, it is. It's really good. It's double layered, isn't it?
It's actually single layered, but it's really thick, completely light tight. Not like the blue one that isn't light tight, but the difference with the blue one, it takes away the UV out of the light. The blue stops it so you don't get an algae build-up. This one is this is a high-end version, so this is the Rolls Royce of Flexi Tanks. We probably won't sell as many, but we are starting to sell them.
They look really good. What on earth is that piece of plastic there?
That's a 16mm or a 13mm inline filter, so we recommend that on every system, whether it's a 6mm pipe, 4mm pipe, 13mm pipe, 16mm pipe, whichever way you're measuring your pipe, you should always use a filter straight after the tank or internally inside the tank. And then regularly check it, probably once every couple of weeks, minimum of a month, wash it out, clean it, and that collects any sediment and stops the pipes from blocking.
These are very cost effective as well, so they cost you next to nothing anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just a cheap, easy way of securing that your plants aren't going to get full of all nasty bits and bobs.
These are 25 litre pots.
Yep.
There's 9 pots in that
Yep.
system. And again, auto aqua valve, gravity fed. And the size of these plants, this is a brilliant system for big plants. And you can fit 9 in. What's that? 1.2 litre square?
It'll fit in a 1.2 square metre tent, not a problem. But they were specifically designed for a customer over in the States who's growing medical marijuana. And we basically designed them for racking systems, and they grow 9 plants in there. But what I'm doing here, I've got 3 plants in BioBiz, I've got 3 plants in Canna. I'm getting different growth in both of them, in both of the soils. I'm using the Canna feed, and then the middle row where I haven't got any pots at the moment, I'm actually going to plonk in some wasabi.
Wasabi?
So nice wasabi, very hot, very spicy. So I'm going to grow this for a little while in this pot, then I'm going to stick this, the other 2 as well, in 25 litre pots, put it in the middle. And the reason I wanted to put them in the middle and grow the chilies big is because they don't like full sun. They like to be in dappled, damp sunlight. So what I'm going to do is, once these are ready, I'll put them in a 25 litre pot, put them in the Auto 9XL, and hopefully they'll thrive and get enough light and enough moisture and humidity, and in 2 years' time I should be able to crop them.
Nice. That's another invitation for dinner.
So is that a 2-year-long crop, that is?
2-year-long crop.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive. I know you're really interested in the herbs. I wish there was some way of showing people how these smelt, because phenomenal smell. Rub your fingers in there.
Well, don't you remember them scratch and sniff cards years ago? Don't you think we could reinstall some of them with some micro herb scents?
Yeah.
So,
That idea, Quinn.
what have we got going on here, Jason? We've got the easy to grow system.
Yeah, it's the easy to grow modules. So I'm using white pots, I'm using green pots, green trays, black pots, just because it was a bit of a mix and a muddle. I've got one section here, and I think 8 pots of sweet Thai basil, which is a traditional herb from Thailand. Absolutely, the smell and the taste is stunning. What we ate with the tomato soup last night, that's where the flavour came from in the tomatoes. And then we move along, we've got a lemon Thai basil, which is like eating lemon sherbet. We tried it earlier, didn't we? And then at the very end, we got a spicy Thai basil, which in all honesty doesn't taste spicy at all. I don't know why they call it spicy basil, but it's very popular in the Asian community, so we just grow it. People come upstairs and they just eat it all and put it in the various salads and things like that.
And these are the easy to grow.
Easy to grow modules. So there's 2 8.5 litre pots, 2 plant pots per tray, and 1 aqua valve running 2 pots. And then all the girls do is cut and come again. So they'll come in, they'll cut it, and then within a week later, it's grown back again. So we'll probably get maybe 8-9 months out of these basil plants, and then we'll rejuvenate them and put some new ones in.
Now, it's not for me to question your growing, but I don't know what's happened here. You have not much growing.
These are new invisible AutoPot plants.
Oh, the new invisible plants out, do you see?
What it is really...
Well, you don't see them.
These are what you see is what you don't get. It's a new product based on the Auto 9XL, but we're utilising the 15 litre square pots and the 8.5 litre pots. In essence, it's one tray that accommodates 8 pots, so you could bring your plants on in these systems, and the great thing is you can then take it up and put it in your individual pots afterwards. So you can have these all nestled together in your greenhouse, in your grow room, bring your plants on, because obviously they don't need a great deal of spacing while they're coming on, and then once you're happy that the plants have established and you're ready to move them into a single tray unit, you literally just pick them up and off you go and swap them around.
Okay, it's a good system.
Yeah,
when do you think these will be out?
These probably will be out, I would probably say, in about the next 6 weeks.
Happy days. So by the time you're watching this, these will be available to buy in the UK.
It's called I think it will be called the Auto 8.
The Auto 8. Happy
Auto
days.
8.
Now, you've got a bit of a bee in your bonnet, haven't you?
Well, I have. Whilst I've been in here today, this is a fabulous grow room as well, by the way. And we're going to have to get some of these guys for back
home.
Back home, back at our lab. So let's have a little look over here. Right. Now, we've got Natupol,
Yeah.
your little army.
Yeah.
I'm very impressed by these, to say the least. It's Jason's little army of natural pollinators. And if we open the lid here, we have some bees.
They're the bee's knees.
They are the bee's knees.
Why do you use bees?
If I didn't have bees, I wouldn't be able to get the tomatoes to set, I wouldn't be able to get the chilies to set. In fact, I wouldn't be able to get anything to set in here unless I came in early in the morning, shook the stems, knocked the pollen off. So I have to have the bees to pollinate all the flowers in here. Now, you imagine the amount of flowers that are on the chili plants in the background. I'll be there forever. So these guys are brought in probably every 3 to 4 weeks. A new box comes in because some of them get eaten by spiders, some of them die, some of them escape. And I just keep bringing them in, and they pollinate all my flowers for me. And they have a queen bee that she sits in the bottom down there, and then all the drone bees, they go off, do all the pollination, come back, and create all the honey that the queen bee can feed off.
You can't half hear them as well.
Yeah, they buzz like mad.
They buzz.
They can get a bit riled up, so you have to be careful because sometimes they'll come out and swarm. I've had to run out of the grow room at one stage.
Oh, well, that's enough of that, so I think we'll put them back there. Oh, here we go. Here's the biggest one in here.
But what's your plan B? Okay, enough of that. We've got some really good plants around the corner. We're going to go and do a run down there, and actually, we're going to dispel a really commonly held belief about the size of the pot and the amount of time that you need to veg your plants. So let's move around the corner and see what Jason's got going on.
Well, Jason, this is the most impressive part of your R&D section for me. These large chili plants that we've got behind us in, I think, 25 litre XLs.
Yep.
Do you want to tell us a bit more what you've got going on here?
So how it all came about is that Steve from NPK challenged me.
Really?
Yeah, apparently scientists can grow better than growers. So we laid down the gauntlet. So Steve came up with a formula of what we do with regards to soil. We're using BioBiz soil. We're using additives, Azos and Charge. And then I decided to put another little spin on it because he didn't think I could grow plants in a basic garden centre food.
Right, okay.
So in the blue tank here, we've got 4 plants, all in XLs with standard Miracle Grow 395 from the garden centre.
Yeah.
And then the following plants, but you can see a difference between these 4 plants and these 6 plants down here. You can see the difference in flower production. And as I go down, I'll show you. So these 4 plants are fed on Miracle Grow from the garden centre with various additives in some of the pots. And then if I go down here, I've got some plants that are grown in smart pots. Yeah. And I wanted to see what the effect of the actual structure up above was. And if you can see, it's much more branching. The internode is much tightly spaced compared to the plants that are grown in the plastic pots. But also the difference is of the plants that are being fed from this white tank using General Hydroponics 3-part Flora series, which is one of my favourite nutrients because you can mix the formulas at the stage of the plant and it's very, very clean, is the flower production on these 6 plants being fed with this General Hydroponics 3-part Flora series is just phenomenally different compared to the Miracle Grow. The Miracle Grow...
You can blatantly see that,
You can see the difference. They look a lot darker. In fact, I probably tend to think that they are actually being overfed.
Right.
And the EC is probably a little bit too high because I can see a little bit of leaf drop on the Miracle Grow plants, whereas I've got a nice colour on these 6 plants and I've got huge amounts of flower production. So to say that Steve's right in what he says, that I can't grow a probably better quality plant with the Miracle Grow because it is a cheaper fertiliser, but I can get good quality growth from that fertiliser, but not the production and the quality of plant that I can get from the General Hydroponics 3-part Flora series. And once again, pH is important. So EC probably about 1.8 for these chili plants, and because I'm growing in soil, always 5.8.
Okay, listen. We've had enough of this now. Enough pontificating about your beautiful plants, and they are beautiful plants. The biggest point I want to make is not how much of a better grower you are, cough, is environment. You see the difference between these plants and the plants in our lab, which are intense. A good environment, but this is a perfect environment. You've just seen the humidity being sprayed. You can hear the humidifiers kicking in. And it just, the biggest point that we try and make on the show is environment is everything, and you can literally see the difference Better grower, maybe. Environment, definitely.
And practice makes perfect.
And Steve needs a lot of practice.
A lot.
Talking about practice, I want your top tips on growing tomatoes, and you've got some phenomenal tomatoes around the corner. We go and have a look at them. The first thing I want to point out is how old are these tomato plants?
They're coming into their 12th month in May. So they literally were planted up just before we did Chelsea last year, and they've been basically growing and cropping all year round.
So, I thought the longer the veg period, the bigger the pot has got to get to accommodate the root mass. But this sort of flies in the face of that theory because you have got, I've sort of measured by either sides of these vines. They're over 10 metres long. One vine into one 15-litre pot and the whole run is just supported there. Strapped up, and they just continuously produce some really flavourful tomatoes. The health of them, the whole run, we're going to show you the run now, is just perfection. It's probably in my opinion, the nicest part of the grow room. And also, it's given me inspiration to start a myths podcast or a myth blog where it's obvious you don't always need the bigger pot, because you'd say a year worth of veg growing and flowering plants, you're going to need a 40, 50, 60-litre pot. It's absolutely blown me away that this is a 15-litre pot, and they look absolutely phenomenal. What's been going on over the last year with these?
Well, like you say, there is a big fallacy that you need a big pot to grow a big plant, and it's not true, particularly not with AutoPot, because the watering and the scheduling is there and it's accurate all the time. As long as I can keep the roots, which we can, inside that pot and not allow them to escape into the aquavalve, then it works. And if you think about a rock wool bag that traditionally commercial growers use to grow tomatoes, cucumbers, if you think of the volume that actually occupies and how long those tomato plants in a commercial sort of environment, it's probably the amount of the 15-litre soil. A slab is probably 15, maybe 20 litres. So, and quite often they have 3 tomato plants on that slab. So when people think that you need a bigger pot to grow a bigger plant, it's not true. It's all about delivery of nutrients, continuity of nutrients, and making sure that the air temperature, the environment, the root temperature is all as accurate as it can be. And if you think about it in the opposite effect of bonsai growing, some people can grow bonsais for 200 years in a tiny little pot and just keep pruning the roots as long as they're feeding it accurately. So you can grow a big plant in a big plot, but you can also grow a big plant in a small plot, and it's all about accuracy and the delivery of the nutrients at the correct and the right time.
Phenomenal. We're going to show the show. We're going to show you all the rest of the grow room, and we'll be back to finish off with Jason in a moment. Have a look around. Let's have some more of that tomato soup.
All right, yeah,
It's great. Jason, thank you very much for a lovely 2 days. It's been fantastic looking around the R&D facility. Everything that the AutoPot can grow, I've personally learned a hell of a lot, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your hospitality.
My pleasure,
well,
guys.
Jason.
Been great.
Thanks for coming down.
Me and you, we've got to get back to Liverpool.
Me, you mean?
Please tell me you've got one of them for me.
Sorry, no. You've got to catch the bus. I've got to go. I'm busy. It works fine.
Nice one.
See you later, Steve.
See you later. Thomas. Got here before him. I can't have got here before him. He's the valve. Hey, have you seen Thomas? Yes, Led.
What's happening?
What's happening? Where is everyone?
Don't know. Do you know where Thomas is?
Nah. Been messing with them genetics again, haven't you?
Yeah.
Told you this had happened, didn't I? It's what happens, lad.
Oh, don't start, Barry. What are we gonna do?
I know what you're gonna do. I'm just Barry Bills, mate. No.